Welcome back, Oregonians. Are you ready to dive into the realm of the hidden? Let's make this network come alive. I'm your host, Jacob Esguerra. We are Salem, Oregon's first cryptozoological network. I've been an investigator for over 26 years. However, the social media endeavors began in 2019. We have partnered with CC Media, 511 Tactical, and Wildlife Safari to help bring you these amazing accounts. We also provide clear biblical theological viewpoints on related to important topics that impact our biblical foundation. Godspeed Artemis 2. They have concluded their trip around the moon. First time in 50 years. How exciting. Of course, there are the naysayers sounding the hoax alarm. It's fake. It's fake. Where do you people come from? I may discuss radical theories on this network, but I am not that rad. So stay with me here. We got a lot we're going to cover that you're going to find really entertaining. The first subject for today tackles the topic of the bird. I call it the bird. And you're going to love this one. I want to begin today with something that sounds almost unbelievable, but it's not speculation. It's documented, tracked, and confirmed. There is a bird known as the bar-tailed godwit that can fly over 8,400 miles, and that's nonstop, across the open ocean. No landing, no food, no rest. One individual tracked by scientists and labeled B6 made this journey from Alaska all the way to Tasmania. That's roughly 11 days in continuous flight over the Pacific Ocean. Amazing. Now just think about that for a moment though, okay? 11 days in the air without stopping. Without stopping. And what makes this even more remarkable is not just the distance, it's how the bird prepares for it. Before migration, the godwit dramatically increases its body weight, storing fat as fuel during the journey. And during this journey, its body begins to adapt in real time, reducing the size of certain internal organs to conserve energy, optimizing every ounce of efficiency for sustained flight. So this isn't just endurance, it's precision, folks. It's a biological system operating at the very edge of what we might think is possible. And here's where things start to get interesting, if that's not interesting enough. Because when people hear about large flying creatures, especially something like pterosaurs, the immediate reaction is often skepticism. The assumption is that long-distance flight, especially across oceans, would be just too demanding, too inefficient, or simply unrealistic for anything beyond modern birds. But the bar-tailed godwit challenges that assumption. If a relatively small bird can cross thousands of miles of open ocean, navigating weather systems, wind currents, and complete exhaustion without stopping, then long-distance flight, even extreme flight, is clearly within the realm of biological possibility. So now the question shifts just a little bit more. Instead of asking, is this kind of travel possible? We have to start asking what kind of creatures could be capable of it. Because when we look at pterosaurs, Particularly the large species, we're not dealing with clumsy, oversized reptiles struggling to stay airborne. Not a chance. The fossil evidence suggests something very, very different. These were highly specialized flying animals. Some had wingspans exceeding 30 feet. The bones were lightweight, pneumatic, filled with air, much like modern birds. Their wing structure was membranous, which actually offers different aerodynamic advantages compared to feathered wings, particularly when it comes to gliding and energy efficiency. And many researchers believe that at least some pterosaurs were capable of dynamic soaring, a flight technique still used today by large seabirds like albatrosses. I found this all so great. Good information. This allows an animal to travel vast distances while expending minimal energy, essentially harvesting power from wind gradients over the ocean. So when you put this together, a picture starts to form. We already know that modern birds can travel extreme distances, thousands of miles without stopping. We know that larger wingspans under the right conditions can actually improve flight efficiency rather than hinder it. Yes. And we know that the skies, and especially the open ocean, provide powerful environment support systems for sustained flight. So the idea that large flying creatures, whether in the past or, as some suggest, even in rare modern accounts, could travel long distances, that idea is not nearly as far-fetched as it might seem at first glance. At the very least, the bar-tailed godwit forces us to reconsider our assumptions, because sometimes what sounds extraordinary isn't impossible. It's just unfamiliar. And when we begin to understand the capabilities built into the natural world, we start to realize that the boundaries we imagine aren't always the boundaries that actually exist. And that's where the conversation really begins. I love that story. That's a great story, isn't it? The godwit. So many miles they can travel without stopping. So it just helps our understanding about travel for avian types. And if they can do it, then reptiles can do it too. This is why so many people have said, hey, look, where are they coming from? So they could be traveling from PNG. They could be coming from Australia, migrating into the states, the western states like Washington, California. Yeah, even Oregon. Not so many, though. There's just something about this state. I can't put my finger on it. But I still love that story. And I think from time to time that one will pop up as a reminder of just how amazing the avian types can be. Indeed. Well, we're all here for the hidden, aren't we? We're here for the unknown. There is a particular story that I want to address that just, came to mind because very little is known about it and whether or not there's some truth or not. But that's what this is. That's why we tackle this subject. The unknown. The unexplained. So let's take a deeper step now into one of the more intriguing and often misunderstood figures in American folklore. The Tommyknockers. Now, some might consider this to be some sort of joke or strange story, or may have some validity behind it. And I remember hearing about this years ago, but I just never had a chance to really look into this one yet. But I thought, hey, you know what? We're on the subject. Let's make it happen. Let's talk about it for those who are unaware of what the Tommyknockers could be or what they're related to. Now, at first glance, this may sound like something pulled from modern fiction, or perhaps even tied to recent cryptid speculation. But in reality, the origins of the idea are firmly rooted in history, specifically in the lived experiences of the 19th century miners. Now, the term Tommyknockers comes from the mining traditions of Cornwall. This is Cornwall, England. When Cornish miners immigrated to the United States during the mining booms of the 1800s, especially into the regions like Colorado, they brought their beliefs with them as well. kind of like the Irish. Among those beliefs was the idea that the earth itself was inhabited, that within the rock there were small humanoid entities, beings that lived in the tunnels and fissures of the underground world. They were described as diminutive, often no more than a few feet tall, with aged or weathered features. In older accounts, they appear almost dwarf-like, something between a man and a spirit of the earth. But what makes the Tommyknocker especially compelling is not just how it was described, but how it behaved. Now, miners would often report hearing knocking sounds deep within the rock. Not random sounds, but rhythmic, deliberate, almost as if something was signaling. And over time, those sounds became associated with something very specific, a warning. There is one account preserved in mining folklore that illustrates this particularly well. A miner working deep in the narrow shaft began to hear a series of sharp, repeating knocks coming from the wall beside him. I guess that would be a little bit freaky if you were in the tunnel system alone. And at first he ignored it. In the mine, noise is constant. The rock shifts. Timbers creak. It's part of the environment. But the knocking didn't stop. It became more insistent, measured, persistent. According to the account, the miner paused, unsettled, not by the sound itself, but by its pattern. It didn't feel random. So he did something unusual. He backed away from the section of wall where the sound was coming from. Moments later, the portion of the tunnel collapsed. Rock gave away. Timber snapped. The space he had just occupied was buried, and the knocking stopped. Now, stories like this type do appear again and again in mining tradition. Not identical, but similar in structure. Warnings, folks. Near misses. Moments where something unseen seemed to precede disaster. And because of this, miners developed a kind of working relationship with these supposed entities. They would leave small offerings, bits of food, often portions of their lunch as a sign of respect. Because the Tommyknockers, as it was, understood what was not purely benevolent. It could warn, but it could also withhold warning. It could guide or mislead. And in an environment as dangerous as the 19th century mine, that distinction mattered. Now, from academic standpoints, we have to approach these accounts carefully. There is no scientific evidence that such beings exist as physical creatures, or so we think. What we do have, however, is a consistent pattern of reported experiences. The knocking. Sounds themselves can be explained through geological processes. Rock stress, shifting, pressure, micro fractures within the stone. In a confined underground space, these sounds can become more amplified, directional, and at times eerily rhythmic. So combine that with extreme working conditions, darkness, isolation, fatigue, and the ever-present risk of collapse, and you have an environment where perception becomes heightened and interpretation becomes deeply influenced by expectation. So in other words, the experience was real, but the explanation was cultural. The miners didn't just hear sound, they understood it through a framework that they had inherited. And that framework gave those sounds meaning. Now, in more recent years, there have been attempts to reinterpret the Tommyknockers as something else entirely. Perhaps known subterranean species or even reptilian-type entities. Yeah, I've heard that. However, if it was reptilian-type entities, they would probably have made a snack of these people, because they are carnivorous, I guess you could say. But when we examine the historical record, those ideas simply aren't present in the original accounts. It's true. The Tommyknocker, as understood by the miners themselves, was not a reptilian being, nor extraterrestrial, nor anything of that nature. I could probably say more supernatural. It was something far more grounded, and in many ways more revealing. It was a reflection of how human beings make sense of danger, how we assign agency to the unknown, and how in environments where the line between safety and catastrophe is razor thin, even the smallest signal can take an enormous significance. So while the Tommyknocker may not be a creature in the biological sense, it remains something very real in another way. It is a record of experience, a cultural imprint, and a reminder that sometimes what people believe they encounter tell us just as much about the world they live in as it does about the things they thought they saw. Now, some of you might recognize the term Tommyknockers from a very different context. So, do you remember Stephen King's novel, The Tommyknockers, published in 1987? Yeah, I remember that. But it's important to understand that King's version is not a direct retelling of the original folklore. In the novel, the Tommyknockers are not small, subterranean spirits of Earth as is described in the mining tradition. Instead, King reimagines them as part of a much darker science fiction narrative, centered around a buried alien spacecraft discovered in a small town in Maine. We always come back to Maine, don't we? As the story unfolds, the presence of this object begins to influence the townspeople, altering their behavior, their thinking, and even their physical state. The knocking in King's story becomes symbolic, not of warning, but of intrusion, something trying to get out, or perhaps something trying to get in. So while King borrows the name from folklore, what he does with it is very different. The original Tommyknockers of mining legend were ambiguous, sometimes helpful, sometimes mischievous, but ultimately tied to the natural environment and the lived experience of miners. King's version, on the other hand, reflects a more modern set of fears, loss of control, unseen influence, and the idea that something buried beneath us might not be as dormant as we think. It's a fascinating example of how old folklore can be reshaped over time, taking on entirely new meanings, depending on the cultural moment. So while the name is the same, the interpretation is something else entirely. Entirely. Yeah. Yeah, I come back to the reptilian idea. And I don't think that's a very good one either. No. It really does seem like we're dealing with a little people phenomena. Going back years, I did have a conversation with Robin Moonshadow, the late Robin Moonshadow, about these little people. And a lot of people have asked me over the years, too, how does that fit in our world? Tiny people. We can understand the concept of creatures, monsters, perhaps. But what about little people? And I've had to fight with this one over the years too, folks, because I'm saying, okay, well, how does that fit in cryptozoology? To be honest, Robin, no disrespect, but it doesn't. Cryptozoology is the study of the hidden animal. Crypto, hidden, zoology, animal. Hidden animal. It has nothing to do with people. Except for those who go out and research, right? So I'm having a hard time putting the little people phenomena into cryptozoology. It might fit into anthropology, archaeological discoveries, but not crypto. not cryptozoology. I don't see it. I don't see a connection there. Again, it's one word. Some people might consider it to be two. Not dealing with little tiny individuals, such as what we would probably consider chloricons, leprechauns, things like that, or maybe even puckwedgies. Believe it or not, these things have been seen on the earth, and so I often think we're dealing with a what do you call them? Earth spirit, in a sense. Duende. Anybody familiar with that name? Yeah. And most of these things are hailed and presented as deities in a way by the cultural presence that comes with it. I'm not too fond of this idea because they deify them. A little midget is deified instead of the actual creator of this universe and this world. These little things are not powerful, but they are part of the unclean realm, since we know what their traits are as well. If you want to accept that these things are real, okay? If you want to accept that. I, for one, want to see more. But I do think things like this do exist. What I'm just saying is I don't see a connection there with cryptozoology. So I'm going to keep that separate. Let's take our first break. I have one more cryptid worthy of mention. Be careful when approaching a hill in Colorado, as this menace slides down a hill and eats you. Heed the warning. You're listening to Cryptozoological Talk on the Ropen Network. Stay tuned.
It's SHOT Show 2017, and the big news this year is Defender Flex. With me is Tiffany, our director of design, and she's going to tell us all about them.
What I love about the Defender Flex is the classic jean styling, but with all the tactical features you have come to love from 511. The pant features 7 pockets. It carries your mags, your knives, your cell phone. It has comfort in the waistband for inside waistband carry, outside waistband carry. Also, we have our classic 511 mag pockets in the back yoke. That's become a traditional signature of ours. And our coin pocket is actually extra long to carry a knife or even a 10-round mag in.
You know, Tiffany, what I love about these pants is the stretch.
Well, the Defender Flex jean is actually a mechanical stretch, which allows for better stretch and recovery. That way your pant lasts a lot longer and doesn't lose its shape over time. With all that stretch, you get the same range of motion that you get with the strike pant and the Apex pant, but with the look of your favorite pair of jeans. I'm really excited about Defender Flex, and I think this will actually change the way people look at jeans.
Your exclusive home for cryptozoological talk, the RRN, Salem, Oregon. Let's seek the truth.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Come and see things your eyes won't believe. Some say they are aliens. Some say they are strangers. Some say they are not of this world. We will not conform to the masses, whether they scorn or whether they attack us. Come on, come on. Welcome to the Freak Show. Welcome to the Freak Show. This is where the freaks go. This is the place that they can never take you. Welcome to the Freak Show. We don't ever need no one to tell us who to be, how to think. I don't care what they believe. Oh, oh, oh. Welcome to the Freak Show.
Let's turn briefly to a developing story. This one comes out of Missouri that's been gaining national attention. Yeah, we do talk news here and there on this network. Lawmakers, they are considering a new legislation that would require drunk drivers to pay child support if they are convicted of causing a crash that kills a parent. Ooh. Now, how many states has this passed in already? Missouri could be one. Let's find out. The proposal is being driven in part by a Missouri grandmother who is now raising her grandchildren after their parents were killed by an impaired driver. Her advocacy was aided bringing momentum to what lawmakers see as a way to hold offenders financially accountable, not just criminally, but long-term. Ooh, wow. Under the proposed law, a convicted drunk driver would be required to make regular child support payments to the surviving children until they reach adulthood. In many versions of this bill, those payments would begin after the offender is released from prison. Missouri is not the first to consider this kind of legislation. In fact, the idea originated in Tennessee, which passed a similar law, sometimes referred to as Ethan Haley's and Bentley's Law, in 2022. I'm familiar with that. Since then, several other states have followed or introduced comparable measures, including states like Texas, Kentucky, and others with varying stages of adoption and enforcement. As for Missouri, the bill is still moving through the legislative process, which is growing bipartisan support through final passage details, such as exact vote counts. Now, these votes are still developing as lawmakers debate implementation and enforcement specifics. The broader idea behind these laws is straightforward. If a driver's reckless decision results in the loss of a parent, the financial responsibility for the children left behind shouldn't fall solely on a surviving family member or members. It's a story that combines tragedy, accountability, and evolving legal response, one that more states may continue to take up in the near future. And I'll be honest, I'm in favor of this kind of legislation. At some point, accountability has to mean something, right? There are far too many cases where people make reckless decisions, getting behind the wheel intoxicated, driving aggressively, acting without any regard for the lives around them. The consequences of this are all devastating. Families are torn apart, children lose parents. In many cases, the burden is left entirely on those who already are grieving. So the idea that someone who causes that kind of loss should carry an ongoing responsibility, yeah, hell, that makes sense to me. If your actions take a life, especially through something as preventable as drunk driving, that the consequences shouldn't end with a person's sentence. There should be a lasting responsibility tied to the damage that was done. So this actually reminds me of something actor James Garner once said, and he joked about this one. But there are points to it. There's something behind it. And this is what he said. He said, after decades of research, I've concluded that marijuana should be legal and alcohol should be illegal. But good luck with that. End quote from James Garner. I sort of agree, but not fully. Now, whether someone agrees with that or not, the broader point is hard to ignore. Alcohol in the wrong hands has led to an enormous amount of harm, especially on the road. And so when laws like this are introduced, it raises an important question about justice, responsibility, and what it really means to be held accountable for our actions. So it's not just about punishment. It's about recognizing the long-term impact of a single decision. And that's a pretty devastating decision. If you are drunk, don't get behind the wheel. But then again, do they know they are? Can they feel it? Their senses are numbed. All it takes is that one mistake, and the consequences are devastating. I personally have never been there, thank God for that, and I never want to be. But I like this legislation. I think this needs to happen in every state. in the U.S. There needs to be harsher punishments for lives that are taken by a drunk driver. You serve your sentence, and then you pay for what you've done to those family members who are going to grieve for the rest of their life. Yeah. All right. Let's get back to the unknown. We've been contacted by a man named Mark Jorgensen, who has been capturing unusual visual anomalies on camera inside his home in the Philippines. Mark now lives in Portland, Oregon, my neck of the woods, about an hour from me. These appear as small floating lights, what many people commonly refer to as orbs. Now, experiences like that tend to fall into a few different categories, and it's important that we approach them carefully and thoughtfully. My personal experience, brief, but nonetheless within parapsychology. On one hand, there are natural explanations. In many cases, what people identify as orbs can be caused by dust particles, insects, moisture in the air, or reflections of interacting with the camera's light source, especially in low-light environments. These can produce luminous shapes that appear to move in unusual or even intentional ways. On the other hand, there are those who interpret such phenomena through a spiritual lens, suggesting that these manifestations could be connected to unseen entities, whether benign or in some cases something more concerning. So the question becomes, what exactly are we looking at? Is this a matter of environmental conditions and optics, or is there something more taking place? Our goal here isn't to jump to conclusions, but to examine the evidence, ask the right questions, and help Mark work through what he's experiencing with clarity and discernment. Excuse me there. And with that, let's bring him on. This is Mark Jorgensen on the Ropen Network.
We shall do it.
Let me ask you this question to start off. How did you find me again? It sounded like I received an email from CC Media. Jessica does a great job of forwarding me those messages. And it sounds like maybe...
Okay. Is that the CC cameras, CCTV cameras?
Yeah, well, I partnered with CC Media. They used to be called CCTV, now they're CC Media. And that's where I received your information.
The same thing with the TV setup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the camera setup. That's what my girlfriend has. Yes, I did call them.
Oh,
okay,
good.
Now we know. All
Wonderful.
right, cool.
And now I know where the outlet is. Okay. So, Mark, you got an interesting phenomenon you want to talk to us about that I need to hear and see if we can come to a conclusion about what it is. So start off with what you know so far. Tell me what you've been seeing or what you've been told.
Okay, so this is my girlfriend's house in the Philippines, a suburb of Manila. Okay. It's a 3-level house. The videos were on 2 levels. The first level and the third level, which is like a recreation room. Mm-hmm. It's rather large, but so you go in the hallway from the front gate, and that goes down into, at the end there's a kitchen area. But as you go through the hallway, her room is that room, which is hers, on the right, which has a window there, and the camera is on the outside of the window. That's where you'll see, if you see these, which I'm thinking you'd want to see the videos, Jacob. So that's from that angle right there. So it's right at the end of that hallway where the kitchen starts, okay? And that's the scene of the 2 that I saw first that are the most dramatic, the 2 that are like softballs. They come in, they start like about halfway, and then they zoom to the right, and then the bottom, they're about a yard apart, and then the lower one moves up to the right a little bit, and then they disappear, and up from the upper corner, also along that wall, comes down the cigar-shaped thing, which looks like it's about 10 inches long and maybe an inch thick, okay? And, of course, that camera is like about I'm thinking like 12 feet away, maybe more. Okay. And so then when the cigar goes away, the orbs come back on. I mean, they disappear and then come back on, and then they move back into the middle of it and disappear. But this is the only one that I told you about that can go, that have the camera lens expand from the enlargement or whatever, the focus, and you can see it do that, which I just checked that earlier yesterday. And you can definitely see that when they move, the camera goes in and like focusing on it, you know. And so, very dramatic when I first saw it. I'm going, holy cow, what is this, you know? And this is very clear to see. The second one was seemingly, to me, they're both as dramatic, and this is the one that didn't look as clear as I thought it did when I first saw it, but the same camera, probably a different day, but from the left of the view, after about, I think it's about maybe 12 seconds, in comes these little orbs, maybe like about an inch or so.
Okay.
They look like lozenges, you know, that you would put in your mouth. But of course, they're semi-clear. And these were less able to see them, but you can see them. I thought they were more pronounced, but I haven't watched it for quite a long time, Jacob.
Okay.
So they start rushing in from little to more. And I mean, there could have been it from 50 at least, okay? It could have been maybe from 50 to 100. I'm not going to count them because they're going so darn fast. So they just gradually peter out, and they're going all the way across the window. All right?
Okay.
And they look like they're even going in the window because the side of the camera picks that up, as I recall, okay? That's that. And that was it.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one that I saw was up on the third floor, and now that I saw it yesterday, it's a little bigger than what I thought it was, because I thought it was a little bigger than like a cigarette pack. It was about double that size, and it was moving more than I thought it did when I saw it, but it's maybe just my memory, okay? But it was moving quite a bit just at the bottom, though. That's it, back and forth. You know, and it moved up a little bit. I don't even remember that. So it's a totally different structure, the same see-through, you know, translucent looking.
Okay.
And this is it's right above her son's exercise area in this rec room upstairs. And that was it. I don't think I saw any other orbs in there. There may have been, but it was not real predominant. So the fourth one is downstairs in the kitchen again. The same camera, but when it starts out, it's right in the left-hand corner where the hallway ends and the kitchen starts, right by a stove that is there.
Mm-hmm.
A thing that looks like the blade of a big sword, okay? Mm-hmm. But it's see-through again. And you can really see through this. And it's about, I'm saying at least 3 inches wide. And then, but it's not real defined. Because of the lighting or something, it kind of goes in and out. And then it also grows longer. It moves across the room a little bit. And so midway in the room, there's a door on the other side to another room there.
Okay.
And it expands out all that way, kind of slowly. And I don't know if it was about halfway through the video, there was not one of the orbs. Well, it was an orb. This is different. Not one of the bigger orbs, you know, that's like a softball. This was like a smaller thing it looked like it was shiny. And I'm going, oh my God, I don't remember that. I remember one coming down from the top of the door and down. I didn't even see that this time, and I'm going, holy crap, you know, that just zipped through there, like zip like that.
Okay.
So that was just another weird thing. And that bar just kept oscillating right there in the same place, back and forth and getting longer and shorter. I mean, have you heard this before?
I have a little bit, yes. Yours is a little bit more unique than what I was expecting, but I am familiar with some of the phenomena. Now, let me do a process of elimination here, just for the audience's sake. Okay, Mark?
You bet.
Now, for the record, some people will probably be saying, okay, well, maybe he's just got insects in his house. No, I'm sorry, that's not the case here. However, I will point out the kinds of insects that do have this ability, which are fireflies, click beetles, railroad worms, and certain glowworm larvae. All right? Now, those are bugs. You're going to tell it's a bug. It's going to move naturally, organically.
That's what I was just going to say. I would negate that one right away, but it may be a possibility. What I was getting, Jacob, was, well, it's in the camera. Really? Like dust? How can these things be dust when they're that big? And I thought, well, maybe if it is inside there, but doing this kind of weird motion stuff, it just doesn't seem real and a camera lens is stationary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, no, the lens is open for one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like a camera sitting there, your own camera, snap camera with the cover on it, that's closed in, but this is. And so how can you say, well, it may be inside the camera? That's what somebody told me, but I'm going, well,
no,
I don't believe that.
No, neither do I. Here's the thing.
I got to know from you.
So let me ask this next question then. So just to confirm, you're seeing these things outside of the building or inside the apartment complex?
It's inside the building. Yes.
Okay. Inside. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. It's like, I would say at least 20 feet from the gate where the kitchen starts. Of course, and then up in the third floor.
Okay. Yeah. And this only happens at a certain time of the day, correct?
Yeah, it's usually like late at night, like 2 or 3, maybe even 4.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something I'm familiar with, very, very familiar with, Mark. This is technically considered the witching hour. Okay.
But what I don't get, but what I don't get, Jacob, is the light looks like it's on in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I asked her, I said, did you have the light on at 4 a.m? And that doesn't seem reasonable.
No.
But maybe there's a light thing with the camera that it makes it, you know what I mean? Almost like infrared.
Yeah.
But it looks light. Maybe there's enough light in there. I don't know. I'll have to ask her again. But yeah, so that seems, because you can see everything in the room clearly. Yeah.
Okay. So we've established that we have something that's happening inside, and it's happening predominantly in the early morning hours, anywhere from 2:30 to 4 a.m. Does it happen? Does it continue even past that time, Mark?
I think there was a variance, and I don't know if there was any during the day, but I do have a timestamp on it, Jacob.
Okay. All right. Now, this is where you have established that there are no insects involved here, and I don't believe that at all. The fact that they're coming out in a certain AM hours, that tells me something. We have a camera that's stationary, that's picking up these objects that are passing in front. No, it's not within the structure of this camera. Now, tell me what kind of camera this is again?
It's a CCTV camera. There's 10 of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all around her building, her premise.
They tend to have a higher range. They're not mirrorless like a DSLR. So they should be able to pick up some good quality, though. So that's not something that's being fabricated.
Visual,
yeah. Okay.
I mean, she has a little store there in her storefront, right? Off of her room,
Mm-hmm.
with the cage out in front, whatever. And a guy came up and tried to steal. Well, he actually took the lock that was sitting there, and it all picked him up, and it was perfectly clear. But there's a street light out there also. But yeah.
Okay. And these tend to be a good size. It could be like you said, softball. And then you have something else that comes into frame that tends to be more triangular, longer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Like a thick. I a sword is better because a sword is used. The bigger swords are like 3 inches wide, or kind of like a thick yardstick made out of wood,
Okay.
But yeah.
And you set up the camera because you were used to seeing this phenomenon. You're like, hey, this is something very real. I need to start recording this. Or is it just something that's stationary, established by the complex itself, where they have to have these cameras?
Oh, they're hooked up all on the house. Nobody touches them. They just look at their camera on their monitor inside and see what's up, and then, or they go through her phone and go fast forward and see what's on it and can take what she wants from it,
Okay.
Because one recording was very short, but all the other ones are like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm kind of trying to understand why there would be cameras. Well, actually, I guess I understand. It's not like they're in your guys' rooms, right?
No, the cameras are there for security.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. Okay, let me come back here again.
Well, let me interject something,
Sure.
Jacob. This property that she's on, she's never had to pay rent because it was nothing when it started, and she happened to know these people, and they were very just got married. Okay, she's estranged from her husband, and the people said you can live here if you want to. I don't know if there was a partial structure, but they built something. I think it was out of wood, and it just progressed because it was a dump, and it's got built up. I've helped her build it up, and that's the deal. But what I'm saying is this property was a military billeting area, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Long ago, maybe during World War II. So I don't know what went on there, but as far as spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some people died there. I have no idea. I'll talk to her. But you know what I'm saying? Because as you and I were talking, that this may be in that spiritual realm, but it's so odd, But who knows, right?
True. Well, it's interesting with spirits. Now, if we are dealing with spirits, which it sounds like we probably are, they do come in different sizes. I've observed this myself. There's a very big hotspot here in Salem called the Lee Mission Cemetery. And it's one of the worst haunted places here in Oregon. Could be one of the worst in the United States. But I've seen these anomalies where it's a lot like what you're describing, where they're seen as different shapes. And there seems to be one that comes in that instigates the rest of them. Now, in my personal opinion, these could be members of the unclean realm, which we can't see with our normal eye, but camera picks them up. Cameras are really good at picking up the spirit realm. I mean, it doesn't take much to be able to capture them on film. And even the human eye can see it too. It's just that we're limited of what we can see with our natural eyes versus what cameras can pick up. So it sounds to me that you may have some spirits there, but here's a question too. What are you getting? What kind of a vibe are you picking up from this when you see it?
Just extremely weirdness. What the heck is this? It's like so odd. And I mean, and then I'm getting different points of view, like we just said, no, and no, it's not that. But so it's like, what is it,
Okay.
But I'll tell you one thing before I forget, is that her son, he was an epileptic that they didn't know from a baby. He almost died. They had to rush him to the hospital, but he takes like one pill a day. He's like 40 now. He was a baby when they found out about it, right? He was turning blue, but he has had actually a near-death experience. Okay. Yeah. And so he did that whole route, right? And, but when he was in his room there, before all this remodeling, I believe he was like sitting on the edge of his bed, and it happens every year that his grandmother, and I don't know if it's in a dream or what, I think it is, but one time he was sitting there and he felt something touch his shoulder.
Okay.
And that did scare the bejesus out of him, right? So, yeah.
Okay.
anyways, there's something going on there.
Yeah, and that does clarify a lot for me, Mark.
Uh-huh.
It does sound like this apparent complex does have some spirits involved there.
I'm wondering, yeah.
There's no
But,
doubt about it, in my opinion, now, because of what you're telling me, and based on what others are experiencing, and what I find interesting too.
Jacob, I've never talked to him. Excuse me, because he's not a real talkative guy. He's very silent,
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he has kind of a complex about English also, but he's a nice enough guy. He helped her out there.
Okay.
With the store, so yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but, as far as her having any of this type stuff, I don't think that she has.
Okay.
Except seeing these darn things on the cameras.
Sure. Now, they are more receptive to someone who... Now, I'm going to just throw this out here because this network is not just devoted to the cryptozoological or the supernatural. We are also devoted to theological doctrine, proper biblical understanding. So, based on what I believe and based on what I know, I do believe these to be spirits. Now, they will inflict those who they believe they can have an attachment to. So, if there isn't much of a foundation there, they can attack with far more aggression. Because there's different stages of this that take place, and oppression can be one. And there's conflict. So for you, you're seeing it, but you're not picking up like any horrific vibe. Not yet.
Yeah.
But you have the ability to discern here that there's something terribly wrong, and based on what you're seeing. And I understand that.
Except that most of it, the first two were the softballs that moved to the right and then separated somewhat and then disappeared and then came back after the cigar went down. That's a whole nother thing. And then they went back. Okay. But the ones with all the cell-like inch looking things round, it was more aggressive because it was moving all the way across like a stream of water, Jacob, Yeah. Seeing minnows swim in the, type of thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was very moving. They're all moving when you first see them. But the other videos that I wasn't going to send, I can send you the rest if you like after you see these, but they were with the son holding one of the grandchildren, walking around with him, and there was just a minor of the bigger orbs in there.
Okay.
Kind of floating around back and forth, whatever it was, Yeah. And there was two of those. 2 videos of those.
I've said this before and over again, that if something is sent by God himself, he will know it, but it will come with peace and clarity and understanding and joy.
Roger.
When you deal with something like this comes usually with confusion, distortion, chaos. If it's not clear and it's not an overwhelming understanding of peace, it is not from him. It is foreign to him. Of course, we know where these things belong. Now, let me ask you one question before we take a pause here, okay?
Sure.
Tell me real fast, where do you stand in life as far as your beliefs in doctrine, biblical understanding? Where do you stand?
I've been a Christian all my life.
Okay.
The Lord touched my heart when I was 19, and there we go.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep. And I'm reading a book now, if I may mention it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, the Bible's good, of course, but I've read it once and I'll go back there if I need to, but it's great. It's called Jesus Calling. Do you know of it?
Yes. Let's see here. Okay. The author.
It's by a woman. She has several different versions, like for teenagers or whatever, stories of the Bible, whatever, something like that. She's got about 3 or 4. I don't know how many, but whatever. Her name is Sarah Young. Normal spelling. Yeah. Sarah. Yeah. Okay. She's in Australia right now. After this project, I believe, helping Japanese people put up churches. Her and her husband. That's it. Yeah. I enjoy it very much, man. I've taken pictures. So the odd pages on the left and the even pages on the right, all the way through the book. Okay, it's one for every day.
Yes, I think. Yep, because I used to have that one in my office. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I took pictures of every one. In the beginning, I wasn't so good with the camera, but I honed them up and cleaned them up and stuff. So I send them out to my little flock of like 5 or 6, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's like every other day because it's 2 pages, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I intend on putting a PDF together so the whole thing will be like a book again, and put the cover on it so I can send it to those as well. But I get very inspired by, as you know what it is already.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So bear with me for a moment here, Mark. Bear with me for a moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to we're going to pause for a quick little break. Okay. I'll be right back with Mark, who has an amazing testimony he's sharing with us. You're listening to Cryptozoological Talk on the RRN Ropen Radio Network. We'll be right back. You're listening to Cryptozoological Talk on the RRN Ropen Radio Network. I'm your host, Jacob Guerra, broadcasting from the heart of Oregon, Salem's capital. Every once in a while, we get some great testimonies that come through the pipeline, sometimes dealing with the cryptozoological and others with the supernatural. My guest today right now, Mark from Portland, Oregon. I love when I hear from my local listeners and viewers, because that just gets me more engaged and knows that we're reaching a broader audience. We're doing really well. Big thanks to Jessica Scott, Hunter Winnan, and Tim Marchuka, and Luis Mendoza at CC Media. Mark, you still with me?
I'm right here.
Perfect. All right. So we just learned some new things, what we're experiencing, what Mark might be experiencing here with this complex. And I do believe this is part of the spirit realm. The fact that they come out so early, I've dealt with this for years and years. Now, my understanding in parapsychology work is only 6 years, because I had an event that happened to me that told me I need to get out now. And it can be a very dangerous field. If you're not looking to eradicate these spirits, then why tamper with it? Well, there is some good things here. We can help people understand what they're dealing with, but we have to be very, very careful as believers. So in this case, it's good to hear his testimony and what we think we could be up against. But I do think, because of what is happening, it is linked to the unclean. And this is how they distort. Okay, it can appear as little phantoms, balls of light, but there's something bigger there that most of us do not see, but we can feel. I like the fact that he can feel something, that it hasn't gotten aggressive just yet and into a large amount, but it could. So you got to be very careful there, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me something, your denominational background. Now, we just found out you are Christian. Tell me, are you affiliated with a denomination at all?
Jacob, as far as the son goes, he saw Christ in his near-death experience, like many do. So that does have an effect on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I always wanted to talk to him about it, but, I just don't engage with him because I'm with her,
Okay. Now, this is the same individual who felt something touch him, right?
He just felt something touch his shoulder, and it wasn't, and it was very noticeable, evidently, that it scared the bejesus out of him, and so much so that he didn't want to sleep in there.
Okay.
So he just sleeps in the store in the front of her room and takes care of that, and,
So he had the near-death experience, too, where he saw Christ.
That's correct.
Okay. So did this happen before that or after?
It happened after.
Okay. Good.
I'm pretty sure. Not totally sure.
Okay. Because I would point to a different walk in life there, because, sometimes.
I'll check on that one, Jacob. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I would. Because actually, again, little things like this can help clarify what you're dealing with, what you're dealing with in this place.
I got to,
Here, I thought originally when we were talking, I know that we talked yesterday on the phone and we was going through an area where I was going to kind of lose you here and there. It almost sounded like you were dealing with something that was outside the building that you could see in the distance that were larger objects, which was where I was implying maybe we have Ropen activity. That's a totally different phenomena in itself. So it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all. This is definitely something that's spirit related and very
It
evident.
seems that way.
Yeah. I would say this though. So you know these people are still living in this complex, or are they vacated the area?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, her daughter got married, and her husband, now the daughter has had 2 children. The one is about 2.5, and then now just a new baby, like 2 months old.
Okay.
And she's helping to take care of like the granny nanny, you know, and the son takes care of, so back and forth. But the son-in-law is gone right now, but in the United States, and because he's taking care of some business up in Seattle,
Okay.
you know, selling his car or whatever.
Hmm.
But so they, you know, pass the kids up and down to the second floor to her room, and then downstairs to Granny's room, see, to take care of them, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so did I get off base there?
No, not at all. You're doing fine. So I just want to make sure. It sounds like they're still in this building, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And they're still experiencing this phenomena?
No, she checks her camera, but the only time I asked her was like, I don't know, more than a month ago. Did you see any more? You know, it was no. Okay. I think she would alert me if she did. I'll tell her, please do, because it might be something different, you know.
Yeah, it can. They can change, and then they can come back with reinforcements. We don't want that.
But I appreciate your angle of, you know, finding out if it was the episode with the hand on the shoulder before his near-death thing or after. That's valid.
Yeah.
And with her, again, I'll check with her. Did she have anything this way with her? But she does talk about. Do you know about Philippine mythology or whatever?
A little bit, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like a guy with a cigar up in a tree.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, really. Oh my goodness. So, and then some woman, I think in white. That's probably a familiar one all over. I don't know, but
depends on the region. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think anything has happened to her. But I got to ask because I feel like she told me something like a month or two ago or further.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tighten up on that.
Okay. Now, let me ask a question about her then. Where's her walk? Is she a believer?
Yes, I don't know if she's totally dedicated, but she's a Catholic, as most Filipinos are, you know?
Yeah.
They focus on the Mother Mary, as you know.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of them don't have that experience or didn't even know that, you know, Christ can enter into you and
mm-hmm. You nailed it.
Bless you, your life, you know. So
well, my mother grew up a Catholic, and she realized there was something lacking in her life. A real spiritual need of not just believing, but following and knowing that relationship. Christianity is more of a relationship, in my opinion. So, yeah, but the good thing is at least there's a foundation there to build off of. Now, these things will feed on that. So I think the best thing, if she's willing to play some Christian music. Now, a lot of people will skip right over this because these things don't like that. If you play some good, beautiful Christian music, not talking about rock music like Skillet or something like that, some good, heartfelt, this would actually drive them away. It's as simple as that. So if she's interested, she might want to play it for a little bit, see what happens. I'd be curious.
She could do that. I'm just looking at, I don't know, she sets her Christmas stuff up like a month before Christmas. I think that's maybe their habit there, but yeah.
Okay.
That's about all. Yeah.
Well, Mark,
I'll check in with her.
Yeah. And now if you can send me what you have, I'd appreciate that. Might be the best way. If you use Google Drive, that should be fine. If you come into some complications with that, let me know so I can give you a proper feed where you can send, and I can look at what you have. But thank you so much for sharing.
Well,
Before I let you go,
if
though.
you have an email, though, I can just send it to, right?
Sure, and I should be able to receive them just fine. But if I have any problems, I'll let you know. But I should be able to view them.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
actually, because I did send it to the guy in MUFON, and he said he didn't see him 2 times. But I think the lady that was third did, but they're kind of out of the picture now. So
Okay. Well,
why
I'll see
that
what you
happened, I
have.
don't know.
I'll see
Yeah,
what you
sure.
have. Do you have any questions for me, Mark?
So I'll just look on your email on your page,
Mhm.
because I don't know what it is. It's
Yeah.
on your page, right? Okay. So,
Yeah. Well, my email is pretty simple. It's ropentracker@gmail.com. So ROPEN, tracker.
yeah, tracker. Okay.
And let's see here. Now, you gave me some good information to go off of, but do you have any further questions for me before I let you go?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Well, I do, but let's see here. TRACKER tracker.
That's correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And I'm always here. So anytime you want to reach out, I might be in a
Can
recording studio or whatever, but I'm always here.
Okay. Can we talk about Ropen?
Yeah. I can touch on that real briefly. One sec here.
Okay.
Luis, how much time do I have, Luis? Okay. All right. I got at least 5 minutes here that I can touch on Ropen activities. So if this is new to you, I think you'll find this fascinating. So
Yeah, it is. I kind of honed up on what I saw so far, but just some questions. Is the well, however you want to pronounce it. Well, you did clarify the 2 different names for the big bird.
Yeah.
What is it again?
Well, there's actually quite a bit of different names here, but we know them as pterodactyls, pterodactyloids, or pterosaurs.
Yes. Yeah.
And
you
usually,
said the
Mark,
other one, it didn't sound quite right to me. So it's
yeah.
What's the other one?
Well, the word pterosaur goes over everybody's head because they don't understand that.
That's the one. Yeah, that one. Okay.
When you
are they? Or you said they are been seen and sighted in Oregon.
Yes, along the Columbia River Gorge in northern parts of Portland, they have been seen.
You talk about that on the radio with the windmills or your podcast there. Yeah.
Yeah. The windmills. I had a very interesting story come out of that, but I might have to hold that for another time. But basically, a lot of people get confused here because they understand pterodactyl. They don't understand pterosaur, but ptero means the placement of finger.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Airborne, then dactyl, meaning placement of finger, which usually is 3 fingers. Now we're finding there's 4, and split finger, which is 2 and 1, where the thumb could be.
Okay. So just as there are much footage on UFO stuff, okay, but we're not so conclusive on ETs, even though some people are, okay. But what about the footage on this? Because I saw one. Remember I told you when we first talked? It was like it was flying over the road. I mean, it was clear, but it was dark because it was just getting evening, But you could see the darn thing clear as all get out. I don't know if you saw that one, but that's, I think, the only one that I've seen, as far as that goes. And I mean, you could tell that it was at least a 12-foot wingspan, probably.
Yeah.
10, at least 10.
Yeah, they do range in size. Absolutely.
Now that man, what's his name? Wetzel?
Dino Dave, yeah.
Yeah, Dave, yeah. He mentioned that there's some in Kenya.
Yes. Kenya, Zambia, which is also known as the Kangamato, which is breaker of boats or boat breaker. There's a couple of different terminologies for it, but
Zambia is another country, right?
Oh yeah, it's in I want to say East Africa is where that is.
Okay, well, Kenya is right below the brain part sticking out, and right below that, it's directly on the equator. I believe it's Tanzania is right below it.
Yep.
And but she's right on the coast in Mombasa. Okay, this is another friend I have. Okay.
Yeah.
And but Nairobi is 8 hours west, going the other way towards the Atlantic. Okay. So, do you know where the areas where the birds have been sighted at all? Just to get
not entirely. It's mostly I'm hearing mostly about Zambia in Kenya.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then just a one, you know Dr. Stephen Greer, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the name. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very near the Columbia Gorge, but you are too.
Yeah, not too far. Real fast,
Yeah.
there was an apparent sighting along the Columbia River Gorge of people inside of a vessel. I think it might have been one of those tourist boats, and they saw it come down and dive bomb the water because it was fishing.
Wow.
And it was huge.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those bills on those things are like kingfisher birds, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Those, yeah, they have pretty sharp beaks.
And not all of them have teeth. Some of them have protruding teeth, which is more the Rhamphorhynchidae.
Yes, I saw this picture on one of the videos I saved today. It was like the bigger creatures, you know, the ones that were before the dinosaurs, even bigger or something. The biggest pterodactyl,
Yeah.
it was eating a T-Rex. Have you seen that one?
I don't think I've seen that
God,
image.
you got to see it.
I know that
I saved it, so I'll send it to you. Oh my
I'll have
God!
to take a look at that because there isn't.
Really,
The largest wingspan we found, Mark, was in 1971, Big Bend National Monument, and that's Quetzalcoatlus. That was in Texas. 39-foot wingspan.
What? 39 foot?
39 foot, yeah.
Holy crap!
That's large.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were dragons of the sky, no doubt about it. I mean, that's why they were referred to as the fiery flying serpent in the book of Isaiah. And there's other chapters in Scripture that point towards them. So
Yeah, I heard you say that on the podcast.
yeah.
But Jacob, to the point.
Mhm.
Where is the footage? Is there very much? I didn't hear anybody talk about that yet.
Yeah, there is footage of a apparent Ropen in PNG, Papua New Guinea. We do
What
have.
is PNG? What is that? That's the other question I have. You mentioned that several times on the podcast.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
PNG stands for Papua New Guinea.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
Way
that's
over there.
Yeah, they're known as the Ropens along those islands, but depending where you are in the region, they're known as the Pelusa Maya or the Ndava, the core. There's different names throughout the islands, but mostly Ropen is the most familiar, and it's not necessarily a household name, but it is the most popular, meaning demon flyer, because of what they do. We do have footage of one, and I think it's the most compelling evidence because of where the finger placement is. You can clearly tell it's on top of the wing, and that's not natural for most birds or even bats, so to speak. So it's the best compelling evidence, but it's still from a distance, and it's hard to see it, but you can tell the wing structure's there, the bulbs are there. I even have photos sent to me from the police force in Fresno, California. I'm not allowed to share that with the general public, but it is a clear distinction of a living pterosaur, Pteranodonte, that was seen in the sky over Fresno, and I think that one was eradicated by the government and kind of just covered up, but I have the image of it.
And then the one I heard you talk about in the Columbia Gorge by the windmill, it got hit by a windmill, and it was dead, right?
It was a carcass that was mutilated by the blade. Now, this is apparently from the rancher out there, because he has a place that he inherited, and he found the carcass, and it disappeared from his property.
But the question, Jacob, in your mind and mine is, does he have a darn cell phone with the camera? Hello? You know?
That's a good question to ask. But the thing is, when I spoke to this man, he didn't seem like he was technologically advanced. Okay, like he really cared for a smartphone. Yeah. It might have been something more simple.
I don't care around either, but yeah.
Yeah. So there's always a drawback to that. We might have had our first specimen if that specimen was kept by him in better care. But again, you're listening to the testimony of someone who, he could be fabricating this, or it is true. And that's what we just have to take at it for what it is.
Yeah, but it does sound logical that once he sprung it out to the cops or whatever, and then they came and got it, considering UFO stuff. Yeah. And then it was gone all of a sudden. Yeah.
And that's the sad part, Mark. It really is. And not only that, he said that the field area where it was burnt. Cindered.
I mean, did he even see the guy? He didn't even see the guys come and get it, did he?
No, he didn't. Well, he didn't see anything. He left the carcass right where it was, like you should do with forensics.
Okay, well, unless he described right where it was, but whatever, yeah. So the next question to the point, how are they here?
Okay.
How are these prehistoric creatures here?
Sure. This one's
You
very
mentioned
simple
the
for me.
caves where they lay their eggs, but how did they come to be here? Because they are like prehistoric creatures.
Sure. Okay, so this is something we all have to
Especially the
consider
ones
as
with the
believers.
The ones with the big fins, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's very simple for me to answer, Mark, okay? The
Yes.
bottom line is they've been here since the beginning of time. All right, they coexisted with men. If they're mentioned in scripture, that tells me they've been here since our creation. The only thing
Gotcha.
is, due to climate change, they have kind of been scattered and they haven't been as predominant. But they're making a
Yeah,
comeback because
like you said,
reptiles
they're really
find,
good.
yeah,
They're really good hiders, yeah, with the caves and whatnot way up there and all.
oh, absolutely. And reptiles are excellent survivors. They have a way to restore their numbers. So which would
Yes.
imply maybe that they could be commingling with something else, which would describe why some say, hey, why does it look like this instead? Well, that's a theory, but I truly believe they've been here since the beginning of time. They found a way to survive, and that our history, not only our Bible can tell us clearly what has happened with our planet, but it also tells us what came back on the ark. So with a creature like this, marine reptiles don't need to come back on the ark, but something like a bird or a flying reptile can come back on the ark. Okay, easily manageable if it's an infant as well. So I think these guys are subterranean. Partially, they will hide out in lower regions where it's warmer. They'll hide in large trees like the redwoods. They'll hide in the mountains. They've been seen coming out of the mountains. So they need these vast mountainsides to glide, to soar. They're known as soaring. Okay? That doesn't mean that they're going to hang out by the ocean all the time. That doesn't mean they're going to stay in mountains all the time. They can go wherever they want. But they need these currents to ride on as well to get them where they want to go. I think they're making a comeback. I have over 223 documented cases with the Ropen network alone. However, there are others like me who have been documenting
Right.
it as well.
1,000 in the whole group, so that's commendable there. I mean, that's like what, 1,000? You know.
Well, it's been a strong collaboration between Dave Wetzel, Garth Gassman, and myself, Jonathan Whitcomb.
Is that all you guys in the whole United States?
There's not many of us. We are very, very few in numbers. I think there might be no more than 10 of us who are devoted to the Ropen or the pterosaur. No one else is doing this. They're more active with the Sasquatch phenomena, which is fine, but there are thousands of Sasquatch trackers out there. There's hardly any of us devoted to the pterosaur.
Yeah, but do you feel the same about Sasquatch as far as these creatures?
I do not. I think the Sasquatch, because there's too much supernatural activity surrounding them, there's something else going on. I think they could be
like they're super spiritual, like we're super spiritual beings too, but they have some kind of magical properties, but they've also attacked humans as far as I've heard, but or tried to.
Yeah, there's been attacks. There's different variants of them. Some that are more peaceful, that actually come to the aid of humans. But this would imply to me that they might be some sort of a bloodline of the Nephilim. Or they're a genetic experiment as super soldiers, so to say, like the Dogman or other worse cryptozoological creatures out there like the lizard men, which is pretty horrible stuff. But
I'm not sure I've heard of the Dogman, but maybe. But what about Chupacabra? That's mainly like Mexico, isn't it?
Well, there's also Puerto Rico, Mexico, Texas. The Texas Chupacabra has been proven. There's actually an actual specimen of that one that's been put over by taxidermy, and I think I think it was Joe Taylor who had it. She brought it over. The owner of it brought it to him, and he kept it in his museum. We have proof of that one. But the Chupacabra and other ones like Mexico and Brazil, South America, they tend to be more alien-like, which is pretty hideous, where they're bipedal and more monstrous. And I think they might be hybrids or concocted creations.
So this woman, do we know who that woman is, or was I supposed to know her?
She lives, she's a rancher in Texas, and I'm actually looking to be in Texas this year, and I might just be able to chat with her for a little bit. And her name rolls off my tongue, unfortunately.
But the one that she has, is it four-legged?
It is, yeah. It's more canine-like, but it's unknown, and no one can give it a positive identification. But it does have the traits of something that does suck the blood.
But the body is in full tact,
It is, yes. Mm-hmm.
and it looks like a dog, kind of. What?
It's a cross between a canine and a coyote and something else. Everybody wanted to say it was full of mange or had mange of its skin traits. But no, that's not the case at all. And nobody can seem to pinpoint its species. It's very unknown.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, one of the best finds since maybe the coelacanth.
Haven't heard of that.
Oh, it's a Cretaceous fish that was found off the coast of South Africa.
Oh.
And they're live today. You can go to certain parts of Indonesia and you can see them swimming around.
They're finding stuff down in the ocean fairly regularly now.
Yeah, they
All
are.
the
Yeah.
technology they have, yeah.
Which just makes this field that much more interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pretty freaky down under there. One last word, a little off base, if I may.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you're not so into time travel. Well, I like it. I like finding it, but I've looked at about a half a dozen to a dozen videos right on YouTube.
Yeah.
But one basic thing they said, because someone's probably going to listen to this, was that sort of a heads up a little is that at least 3 of them said that time travel was going to be leaked out in 2027. That's next year, less than next year. Yeah. So I just a little heads up on that one.
Interesting.
So yeah.
I know
So
I haven't
anyway,
spent a lot of time on that, but it's good to hear the
yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah. So if it comes out, we'll find out about it, I guess.
Sure will. Mark, it's been a pleasure having you on the network, and I look to hear from you more, and I'll be waiting for your videos.
Yeah. I'll get those right to you right after this.
Yeah, I appreciate
Zip
that.
them over to you.
Yeah, and anytime you want to reach out, I'll be here. I'll try to answer when I can. Sometimes I'm going to be so busy, but I do appreciate you.
So how many sightings have there been of the pterodactyl, whatever one,
Pterosaurus?
Pterodactyl, yeah, pterodactyl.
I've documented over 223.
In Oregon.
Oh, in Oregon. Okay. Not much. I think I probably have 6 to the very most.
Well, that's 6, man. It's better than 1,
Oh, absolutely.
so yeah. And where are they? Are they all over or towards the body of waters?
I had one person report it in Grants Pass, and most of the sightings tend to be northern Oregon, where the Columbia River Gorge is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those windmills are on the other side. They're on the Washington side, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. There might be there. I think by Hood River there might be a few. I could be wrong, but they're mostly on the other side.
Yeah, but you said that there's a lot of sightings in Washington on your podcast there, didn't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
A lot more activity.
Far more. I have a greater number of them.
I see. All right. Wow.
They could be just passing through and coming through Oregon where the river system is. And wherever there's rivers, high mountains, large trees, you may just see one. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jacob. It's been very interesting, and we've revealed a few things about CC camera and how we got together. And
yeah,
I appreciate your concern and what you're doing.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you reaching out and coming on this show. So stay connected with us, and you have a blessed day, sir.
Same to you. Thanks, Jacob.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Adios. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Mark on the Ropen Network. I am going to bring up something real fast, and I didn't want to do this with him on the phone. Okay. This is where I believe denominations are very important to me, because there's a lot of confusion about Scripture when it comes to theology and understanding. And then reading your Bible is essential. And this is why I always say, everybody, read the King James version. Stick with that. I am very leery and suspectful of these other translations. The reason why is because they don't translate accurately. And the Catholic Bible actually has removed certain sections as well, right? Yeah. And I have noticed that over the years that there's verbiage that's removed because they don't understand or didn't understand the translation of it, so they removed it. The NIV removed fiery flying. Yeah, from the fiery flying serpent because they didn't quite grasp the idea. Is that enough to say stay away from those translations? No. Let me give you a great example. The young lad who presented a Bible to Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy said, "I can read this." So there are some wonderful attributes to these other translations. Because when you have someone who could be lost, who needs to hear the Word of God, and hear it clearly for that time being, it's absolutely necessary. So there are some good things, but I personally believe we need to stick with the King James. All right? Because it gets it right. Now, the Bible's the most important thing you can read. And there are these other books on the side that he mentioned. Jesus Calling, Sarah Young. I'm very familiar with this book. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but I'm very leery of these books on the side because they tend to take people's attention away from the Word of God and to these books instead. Are these books actually helping people? Yes, they are. But there's some problems with these books. And there's some theological problems with them too. So if you are going to read books that are separate from the Bible, books that come from, I'm just going to throw them out there, Mary K. Baxter and her Divine Revelation of Hell, which I believe to be an absolute fake. Be very careful with these books. This is where we have to use discernment to understand the truth of God's Word. And it just seems to me that there's a lot of crazy maddox who come away with these books. Which, what I'm saying is the charismatic church tends to make a lot of and produce a lot of these books that they say should coincide with Scripture. Well, actually, Scripture is Scripture, and it doesn't need anything to coincide with it. But there are these amazing books that can help you understand Scripture even more. Yes, those are fine. But these other ones, I'm saying be very careful of. Use discernment. Ever hiked up a mountain and had the strange feeling you were getting ready to be devoured? No, right? Well, that story is next. We need to take our second break. You're listening to the Ropen Network. Stay tuned.
You might find yourself in a situation where you might have to turn everyday items into an improvised weapon. A steel barrel pen is a great defensive tool. Steel barrel simply means that it is one piece of metal from tip to end. That way it has enough sturdiness and construction in order to be used as a puncture tool if you find yourself in a bad situation. You can use these in a myriad of ways. An overhand grip, an underhand grip. There are several grips you can use in order to defend yourself with it, but the goal is to inflict pain with a pen in order to escape whatever that crisis is. And not only is it a great defensive weapon, but it also writes. You can communicate with it. But on top of that, it is also great to get yourself out of a sticky situation if you find yourself trapped in a building or trapped in a vehicle. You can use it to break the glass. Remember, just aim for the corners of the windows. It's much easier to break glass that way than going dead center. So, whoever said the pen is mightier than the sword, they were half right.
Your exclusive home for cryptozoological talk, the RRN, Salem, Oregon. Let's seek the truth.
You spoke a word and life began. Told oceans where to start and where to end. You set in motion time and space.
Yeah, going back to it, I sometimes want to refer to bog lights, will-o-wisps, even potential Ropen lights. You know, I've had great conversations with ufologists who've been seeing this phenomena quite often. Every time I see these lights going in different forms, downwards, horizontal, vertical, I have to ask the question, how fast are they moving? Are they organic, or are they more like a craft in nature? Well, see, that's how you dissect everything. You got to get to the root of it. But in this case, we could be dealing with a spirit or spirits. So I think I made a couple good suggestions to help him get started. Thanks again, Mark. All right, let's shift gears a bit and head into the mountains, into one of the strangest pieces of American folklore you've probably never heard of, unless you spent time around old logging camps, going back to the early 19th century. I'm talking about the slide rock bolter. Now, this creature is said to come out of the Rocky Mountains, particularly Colorado. And it belongs to a category of stories known as the fearsome critters. These were tales told by lumberjacks in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Some of them were meant to entertain, some to exaggerate, and some were just plain bizarre. And the slide rock bolter might be one of the most bizarre of them all. According to the stories, the creature lives on the steep mountain slopes, typically those with a sharp incline, sometimes said to be over 45 degrees, and it has a very unusual method of hunting. It doesn't chase prey, it waits. The bolter is described as having an enormous whale-like body with a massive mouth and a long hooked tail that it anchors into the top of a mountain ridge. Once it spots prey, whether that's the animal or in some tales even people, it releases its grip and launches itself down the mountainside like a living landslide. As it slides down, it gathers speed, tremendous speed, mouth wide open, swallowing anything in its path. And then after reaching the bottom, it uses the momentum to swing itself back up the mountain, tail first, returning to its original position, ready to do it all over again. Now just picture that for a second. I'm having a hard time, but I think I get the idea. A massive creature clinging to a mountainside, waiting, and then suddenly releasing itself, crashing down with unstoppable force. It's almost like something out of a cartoon, but these stories were told as if they were real dangers of the wilderness. In some versions, entire groups of lumberjacks were said to have been swiped up or wiped out by one of these creatures. In others, the bolter overshoots its target, smashing into valleys or cliffs, sometimes with its catastrophic results. And interestingly, the creature was even given a mock scientific name, macrostoma. Interesting. Which loosely translates to something like large mouth rock breaker. Now that detail tells us something important, because by the time these stories were being written down and circulated, they weren't just campfire tales anymore. They were part of a kind of folklore tradition often shared in books and guides about these so-called fearsome critters. I don't know if you can classify this as a critter, though. And yet, despite how exaggerated it sounds, the slide rock bolter taps into something very real: the danger of mountain terrain. Rock slides, avalanches, the sudden uncontrollable force of nature coming down a slope without warning. You can almost see how a story like this might emerge, how people working in remote, dangerous environments would take those very risks as a truth or risky, and give them a face, give them a creature. Because sometimes it's easier to tell a story about a monster than it is to explain the randomness of nature. But even so, there's something about the bolter that sticks with you. Maybe it's the imagery. Maybe it's the sheer creativity of it. Or maybe it's just the idea that somewhere high up on mountainsides, something might be waiting, perfectly still, until it suddenly isn't. Such a strange creature. So, as early explanations come into play here, the slide rock bolter is part of a fearsome critter folklore, a tradition from North American lumber camps. These stories were often entertaining exaggerations, initiation pranks for new workers, creative ways to explain natural dangers. Its behavior strongly parallels rock slides, avalanches, sudden downhill destructive forces, the unpredictability of mountainous terrains, the exaggerated biology the hooked tail, sliding body, massive mouth suggest. It was never intended as a literal zoological claim, but more rather a mythologized version of environmental hazards. The fake Latin name reinforces that it reflects a blend of humor, storytelling, and pseudoscience. But the bottom line, the slide rock bolter is best understood not as a hidden animal, but as a cultural artifact, a storytelling tradition, and a creative way to personify the dangers of the wilderness. Now, that said, like many legends, it still leaves just enough imagination and play to make it fun and to wonder about. The physics alone, if you're dealing with a giant whale-like creature, doesn't work. But hey, it makes for a great story, doesn't it? It does kind of remind me of the one I recently spoke about. That was the Grampus with a G, where it was a porpoise in a tree, which they had to eradicate by doing an exorcism. And apparently they got rid of it. It could have been just a dead aquatic creature that might have been pulled up from a storm and just crashed into a tree. I don't know. That's that one with the yew tree as well. You ever seen a yew tree, you'll know what we're talking about. They are majestic looking and kind of gothic as well. So that brings us to the close of today's show, today's program. Before I go, I do want to mention a few things. A lot of people have been asking what's happening with the museum. That has been put on hold indefinitely. Ever since September of 2025, when things became a lot difficult around here, especially in my life. I've been going through a really, really terrible divorce, and I have to let that subside and come to a nice conclusion before I can venture forward again. That means trips. That means pursuing this venture of a museum. But when I first opened up this conversation about the museum, I said, this is going to take some time. And I do mean some time. It may never happen. It's a great concept. It's an adventure of mine that I'm hoping to pursue, but it just may never happen. That's okay. Some things are within our reach, some things are not. But I will do my best to make it a reality. Another was the clothing line. I'm still working on that. I'm close to resolving it. I've been working with 511 Tactical. There's also a nice outfit here in Staten, Oregon that might be able to supply me with the right kind of shirts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a concept for you. I'm going to have 2 shirts that you can choose from. And if it goes well, then you can actually start purchasing those. But my goal is to make this affordable for you. I don't want this to be expensive. That's easier said than done. It really is. Especially if we're going to use a product like 511 Tactical. So, that's going to be difficult. But I'm going to do my best. So anyway, in the coming months, you should expect to see a prototype And you'll expect to see a couple versions you can choose from. So, we are progressing towards the clothing, and there will be something this year. Okay? So be on the lookout for it. It will be attached to the social media sites, such as our Facebook page, our YouTube, and our Rumble accounts. It might even be linked to Roku. So if you're looking to make a purchase, when you see it, you'll know. So we're going to start off trying to do our best to make sure it is affordable for all of you. Lastly, people have been asking me, what's happening with Rogue River? Did you present them with imagery for them to move forward with? I did. But Rogue River is a no. That's not going to happen. As some of you have been listening, loyal listeners out there, I presented a story to you that a man came forward who was the custodian, said that the Rogue River chieftains were going to change their name to the Rogue River whatever. And he presented them with Rogue River Ropens because he's been listening to my program for quite a while now here in Oregon. That sounded like a great idea, a great concept. Rogue River, that stretch goes all the way down to southern Oregon. We're talking to Bandon, Oregon, Gold Beach. It's just beautiful out there. And I've seen the river system. Back from from July all the way till October, I was venturing out there every Sunday to get an idea of the landscape. Oh, it's great. If you've never been to Gold Beach or southern Oregon's coastline, you have to. It's beautiful. Rogue Rivers goes all the way down this region. So the problem here is that they have the name the Chieftains. I've been told they're looking to change the name. I don't think that's going to happen. So what I did is I presented some images to them, not the ones that were seen on Facebook. We created some new ones that were better, but I hadn't shown those to the Facebook page yet, or to Instagram or anything like that. I will. You'll see those updated versions later. The bottom line is they're not on board. I don't think they had any intention of changing their mascot, but it's something they could consider later on. I think there's been some bad rumors floating around suggesting that because they're called the Chieftains, they're being ordered to change the name, the hypocrisy of that, or just like the Washington Redskins. Yeah. So anyway, as we stand right now, that's not happening. I didn't think it would. I thought that was pretty far-fetched. But then again, I presented it anyway. Let them think about it. It's not going to happen. But someday it could. So we'll still have that information available to them if they want it. And the coming weeks, as we move through April and into May, we have a number of compelling broadcasts ahead. Our research and case file series will continue. So I encourage you to keep a close watch for those upcoming segments. Before we conclude, I'd like to leave you with something that continues to inspire a profound sense of awe. The audio from the launch of Artemis II. That mission. Each time I hear it, I'm reminded of the extraordinary courage and dedication embodied by those who undertake such journeys. The crew, 4 individuals venturing beyond the familiar boundaries of our world. They represent not only technical achievement, but the enduring human desire to explore. It is a pursuit that speaks to something deeper within us. As Carl Sagan once observed, the sky calls to us. We do not destroy ourselves, we'll one day venture to the stars. And perhaps that is the enduring message that exploration, curiosity, and the search for the understanding are fundamental to who we are. Seek the truth. And may God bless each and every one of you listening on the other side of this broadcast. I'm your host, Jacob Esguerra. Until next time.